Michael Ogechi Abbey with Enterprise Express Tax Service. Today I'm talking about what do you do when you owe the IRS. So you get your taxes done and you meet up with your tax preparer, and it just ends up that this time you're owing, and it eventually it does happen. We won't always be getting back tax refunds. There are times, especially once you start making more money, that you may owe the IRS or you may owe the state, depending on what the case is. So what do you do? Well, here's the thing. Your preparer will advise you, and most likely will tell you you can make a payment to the IRS as long as it's before April the 15th. You will not get charged any late fees or interest on the payment or the outstanding payment. Now, if you're in a position where you cannot pay what's outstanding by April 15th, you have a number of choices. Okay. You can go online on www.irs.gov and you can actually initiate a payment plan with the IRS. The IRS gives a number of options. One of the better options that I kind of like that they give is they give you an installment option where if you pay off the outstanding debt within a short period of time, usually it's 6 months to maybe 1 year, you can pay that off in 2 installments without getting charged extra. And I think that's a pretty good one. But in some cases, if it's a larger amount, you may need the extended time. Now, what the IRS does here is they initiate a payment plan. Now, bear in mind that if you talk to an agent to initiate a payment plan, you will be charged a fee. It's called a setup fee, and usually it's probably it's something like maybe $150, $170. I think it's probably changed. So you will get that information once you talk to the agent. But there is a fee if you're setting up a payment plan that extends beyond a certain time frame. And sometimes that's necessary. You will have to do that. And so you set up that payment plan. The IRS expects, or rather will give you options. You can pay by check, mail in checks, but the best option is to do a direct debit option where the IRS takes the money at a certain time frame every month. That would be your best option for that extended time frame. The IRS will ask you, what can you pay? They have certain options. They have certain parameters with which they can determine the amount that they will allow you to pay. Obviously, they won't go below a certain amount, but that's something that you can discuss with them. They are quite, shall we say, they're fairly reasonable. You tell them what you can pay, they'll go through the system. The system gives suggestions on the certain amounts that you can pay, and once that's set, you go ahead and you set up the payment arrangement. In the past, something would come to you in the mail certifying that you have this payment arrangement with the IRS. Nowadays, because a lot of it is done online, you can always set up your IRS online account, which I will definitely advise. Go online and make sure that your payment arrangement is in place. Bear in mind that you can always make additional payments towards that payment arrangement. But here's a question that comes a lot of the time that I like to answer. So what if you're on one payment arrangement for one tax year, and then the following tax year you owe again? What happens to the prior amount? Well, what the IRS tends to do is they tend to cancel the old payment arrangement and sort of roll it into a new payment arrangement. I would always advise doing this with an IRS agent so it's less complicated and you can kind of have an idea exactly what they're doing, because sometimes there's some confusion. The tax years being owed gets muddled up. You make a payment online and it's going to a different tax year, and you want to make sure that that's not the case. So in cases like that, I would always advise that you call the IRS agent. Sometimes you can actually do this yourself. If you need your tax preparer, your CPA, your tax practitioner to help you out, they can do that also by setting up a three-way call. If they have a power of attorney, they may probably be able to do this on your behalf as well. But the other ways is to set up a three-way call with you online, and you give permission for your tax practitioner. However, like I said, you can actually do this yourself, and most of this can actually be done online. It's not as complicated as it seems. So once again, if it turns out that you're owing, just make sure that you either pay off what's owed by the deadline of April 15th. Know that if it extends beyond April 15th, you will be paying penalties and possibly interest. Well, you will be paying interest. Um, However, if you want to get on a payment plan, just make sure you call the IRS. And when you file, just know that the amount has to be posted on the IRS systems for them to actually initiate the payment plan. Okay. So again, the key thing is contacting the IRS and saying, hey, I'm owing money. I want to set up a payment plan. And of course, like I said a few minutes ago, there are different options that you can take. So once again, it's Michael Legacy with Enterprise Express Tax Service. If you liked this video or if it would serve the purpose, please click on the like button and subscribe to this growing channel. I'm here to provide content. Of course, I run a tax business. You can always call us. We do taxes all over the United States. So once again, Michael Legacy with Enterprise Express Tax Service. Bye.